Oh, look at that.
Okay, am I supposed to set my own pronouns? I didn't set my pronouns last time either.
I think they're supposed to come from race time. Alright, it looks like
I guess I didn't connect the race time. Whatever.
Yeah, the timer is counting down in the race time, so it shouldn't be long at all before these runners are moving. So I'm Arcanox, and this is Charlotte.
Hello.
So
I am also here for this commentary.
So these this is gonna be a really cool matchup. You and I both know these runners pretty well. They're both incredibly talented at this game. But there's an interesting detail that I was thinking about the other day. When I think of like Ednolium and what sort of runs he does, I think of glitchless. Ed's just like a king of glitchless movement, like movement strats, speed keeps, and on the other side I have Hobbit here, who, like, when I think of Hobbit, I think, unrestricted showcase. And we've got this All Bosses NMG tournament that's just bringing this glitchless runner and this unrestricted runner together with a beautiful balance of movement and glitch exhibition.
Yeah, it truly is the neutral ground, you know?
So it looks like the runners are loading in now.
Perfectly tied. Here we are at the start. Both of them getting the melee double missile.
Absolutely perfect blob shots. Staying synchronized up through the atom room, which is less likely than you'd think.
Yeah, those first few jumps are pretty crazy. They're pretty tight. Also, I noticed that Hobbit had a little bit of difficulty getting that cutscene skip, which he was just complaining about in VC just a little bit ago. So
it's one of the hardest tricks in the entire game, really. That, and then I think the second hardest is coming back from Elon. It's just really, really tricky. Two buttons you gotta press there.
Yeah, plus and then minus. In that order. Any other order will mess it up.
Yep.
Oh, I love that he got the terrain transformation. Actually, both runners got the terrain transformation before the item tutorial. That's always really cool to see.
Yeah, I really like the little 3 pseudos and then slide under coyote jump. I stole that from Hobbit. It's a lot of fun. It looks really cool.
It's a really slick little bit of movement.
So pretty typical, nothing too special about this segment. We're just encountering Broken Emmy.
Oh, how it accidentally seems to have turbo the R button on his controller, which is very annoying. I don't actually know what the turbo change mechanism is on the 8-bit though, but on a lot of controllers it is very annoying to unturbo.
So it's thankfully, that's probably one of the easiest controllers to do it with, not only because it's just hold the button and press the turbo button, but it also flashes the home button whenever you're holding a button that has turbo enabled. So you can, I like to do a check while I'm loading in, and just check all of my buttons and make sure that I only have turbo enabled on the buttons I want it on.
Now, I don't know what's going on in voice chat. I know that Hobbit and Ed are in the same VC right now, but I noticed that Ed stopped there in the middle of the pathway forward there for a second, and I wonder if that's because Hobbit told him about the turbo R thing, and so now
it would not surprise me.
Stop
a little, it's very honorable. Certainly not expected, but I have mad respect for that, if that is in fact the case.
Yeah, I mean, these two are pretty good friends, so it definitely is the kind of thing you could expect between them, is just a sense of sportsmanship.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty good Corpheus fight so far. Looks like both runners are probably going to have to phase through to phase 3.
Yeah, I think Hobbit was a little closer, but, it's fine.
It is what it is. It's one of the most annoying bosses in the game simply because you can't see it. So
yeah, he was only 2 missiles away. He was able to kill it during the slide under.
Yep, I actually got that during practice earlier. It's one of those things where you both love it and hate it at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so if we wanted to speak to the sort of difference between the glitchless runner perspective and the unrestricted runner perspective, an interesting way to think about it is that the unrestricted runner is used to using the minor glitches, because of course you also use those in unrestricted, whereas Ed is used to seeing pretty much the whole game, because that's what you do in glitchless.
Mhm.
So that's sort of the difference in perspective here.
Yeah, it's like they both have an upper edge in a different category, knowing more of the area of the game versus being more comfortable actually executing tricks that would be considered glitches, minor or major.
Indeed. So yeah, we got a little bit of a slight lead from from Ed right now.
Very much anyone's game, especially with cloakless water slope skip coming, or sorry, cloaked water
Cloaked,
slope skip.
in fact.
Cloaked.
Cloakful.
I mean, we could see someone showing off cloakless, but I don't think that we're going to see that from either of these runners.
I
Given
believe
how
that
much
technically cloakless
Uh-oh.
is very... Ooh, that's okay. That's a
Ooh.
potential for a lead to happen
If Hobbit
for
can,
Hobbit right now.
yeah, if Hobbit can get first or second try slope skip, or
Okay,
third try,
second, not working out. Third?
or fourth try,
Okay, it's alright.
or fifth
Alright,
try.
there. It's about
Maybe
to
I should
be
stop.
even.
There we go.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is still a little bit of a lead for Ed, but that definitely did close the gap a decent amount.
Yeah, if Ed had gotten slope skip, even in the same number of attempts, I think the gap would be bigger than it is right now.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That crawl through the water is just a real...
It's a drudge. It's unbearable. It makes the whole game feel like it's running slower.
I
Of
feel
course
like I'm
it's not.
playing
That would
20
be a
FPS
different
game.
glitch.
We don't talk about that. Alright, so yeah, Ed getting Charge Beam, Hobbit a couple seconds after. Not too big of a gap right now. There is just the D-boost really left in Artaria as far as like big potential shifts of back or forth in the run. The run that both of these runners did a practice race against each other where they didn't take it too seriously, and it kind of went off the rails. But they both actually needed to do a backup for the elevator deboost, and it was interesting is Hobbit labbed his live in that run, and so I wonder if now he just like has that unlocked, if he remembers how he did that and he's going to do it on purpose if he needs to, or if that's just not going to be the case.
We shall see, for sure. There's also the white Emmy kill. I think that both runners try to do plant kill, and that can also be an equalizer if you misjudge how close you are to breaking the faceplate.
Very true. And both of these players, serial complainers about the buffer order of wall jump versus quick rise, so...
We all know the struggle.
We all know the struggle, but I feel like these two are who I think of when I think about complaining about that.
I can wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, so that's definitely like the issue at hand with plant kill. Something that both of these runners have a history with.
Hobbit going for Giga Weave, unfortunately going for a ledge grab instead.
Interestingly, I forgot what I was going to say.
That is interesting.
Couldn't have been that interesting.
So both runners are going to be making their way to the, what I like to call the aggressive iMac, white Emmy.
Oh, that's good.
Of course,
when
we
you
have
said
to stop
I
and
thought you were talking about like the Emmy, not the Emmy.
No,
the
it's
CU.
like it sits on its little pod, and it's got the head that swivels around.
Yeah, it's definitely a really pretentious. Like it hangs out in Starbucks.
The resemblance is uncanny, I swear. Of course, we have to stop and talk to Adam. Definitely not Ravenbeak in disguise.
For the second to last time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess third if you count the cutscene we skip at the end. Hobbit getting a pretty quick Magus skip, so that's pretty good.
Second attempt, I believe. I didn't see how many attempts it took Ed. It looked like first or second, definitely.
Relatively still pretty even.
About a 4-second gap right now. Really tiny in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, this is a very short fight, so definitely not spending a lot of time here. that a manual weave from Hobbit I just saw?
It looked like he may have just been doing beams and then switched to doing missiles partway through.
Oh, okay.
I have that habit. I always forget that missiles are faster. So
Okay,
Ed
so we
going
saw
for a straight
one
plant
laser
kill.
from Ed. I don't think it's gonna
Uh-oh,
work
Hobbit
out.
getting a buffered wall jump, so Hobbit's
Oh, it
gonna
actually
have to
did!
Hobbit will have to jump over as well. Looks like both runners correctly judged the need to jump over and not try to do an actual plant kill, though, so that's good.
Oh no, Ed got plant kill.
Well, he still had to jump over to actually finish off.
Oh, true plant, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't get true plant. I've seen it multiple times in the tournament, actually, runners going for true plant and dying to white enemy. It's just, you don't want that kind of a gap this early in the game. It just feels bad.
Yeah, you can die to speed enemy in a half hour.
Yeah.
That's fine. Alright, so we're seeing a melee into slide into respin from Ed off of that ledge. That's interesting.
Yeah, really, like I said, really optimized movement. It's like refined, is what I would call it.
Yeah, Ed definitely a student of the room by room optimizations.
Yeah. Not that Hobbit is not, but like I've mentioned, when you're doing glitchless categories as your primary category, that's really all there is to optimize. You don't have to be splitting your efforts between doing glitches and doing movement. It's basically all movement.
Indeed. So here we're going to see the elevator deboost. Ed does a really small jump over method. I think Hobbit does. There we go. And I think Hobbit does a smaller...
oh no! Okay, good
Okay.
decision on Hobbit to not even attempt it at that point after missing the climb, because at that point the AI cycles are already going on those plies. That's what the little bugs are called. So if you miss that first ledge grab, which is incredibly unfortunate, the whole cycle is going to be off.
Yeah. The other nice thing is if you're going to fail elevator deboost, it's better to fail it on the left side of the room, because then the path back to the magnet isn't very far. So it's not as bad of a time loss as it could have been as far as missing elevator deboost. Though it is still a little unfortunate because Hobbit is already behind, and so that's just adding a little bit more time.
Yeah, it does widen the gap. Not critically. Obviously, there's still plenty of places for this gap to narrow or widen. Let's hope for narrowing.
Yeah, misfortune upon Ed.
Not that I would ever wish misfortune on another. However, as Ed is very familiar, commentator's curse is unpredictable.
Oh, so you're actually putting up an opposite energy, is what's happening here.
I like to think of it as a chaotic neutral energy.
Oh, Ed missed his signature trick of the wall jump slap missile.
and we see the reaction is appropriately frustrated.
Yeah. Now, Ed, Hobbit does a faster movement, which is nice, so that, you know, there's a little small room optimization that Hobbit does. So you just kind of eat the hit.
Good
You just
super
accept
boost
it.
attempt by Ed, first try. Hobbit is just coming up on it.
Yeah, Ed kind of had some trouble with that wall. It's the most annoying, like, magnet wall jump in the game,
Good
honestly.
first try, super boost by Hobbit as well. Yes, this magnet wall is like, it's like they just were trolling when they were designing this level. They're just like, you know what? Let's make it so that you can't just have a clean wall jump up there. Let's put a slope in there instead.
The funny thing is, it's at such an angle that if you grab the magnet from its lowest point and the game didn't allow single wall jumps on magnets, then that would actually be a free little section there, but it's not like that. So
yeah,
it's hard.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, I love to see that melee into the respin quick rise.
Dash melee respin quick rises are first and foremost a mouthful, but they look really cool.
Yeah, we need like a Charlie-esque description of that
I was
trick.
just gonna say that. Maybe chat can come up with something.
Yeah. So we're gonna see a Hell Pseudo attempt from Ed. Surprisingly, being the glitchless runner, goes for this pretty consistently. But
it
unfortunately,
is
also
one of
missed
those
it.
swag strats. I do know that Ed is a huge subscriber to the swag strat factor. Um, worth losing a few seconds here and there if you can, just to get some swag points. So I can
Yeah.
definitely respect it. Unfortunate that he didn't get the health pseudo, but he did get, what I noticed is he got the pseudo dash melee on the button, which is really cool. I'm a huge fan.
It is really cool. Unfortunately, he lost a little bit of time on it because he got it second try. So Hobbit going for just the absolute like vanilla like glitchless strat there potential idea, if you want to think about it like that, did save a little bit of time.
Door. Also. Not
And
a huge time loss, but it's again, it's just one of those things that feels bad to miss because like I know that like it's not like it's typically very challenging, but we all have those moments where you just get the angle a little bit off, and then you have to stand there and wait for the door to open while it like mocks your.
But right now we got the great equalizer. Ed, not quite getting the Adam skip right there, so they're actually perfectly tied right now in theory because it's just whoever gets.
It's
Adam
anyone's
skip
game,
first.
really.
Yeah. Who grinds out 10x Adam skip more?
All right,
Hobbit
has taken the lead.
There we go. And then he's going to do the cloakless water ass to get over the ply after doing a pseudo screw through it. Quite the interesting movement.
Very narrow gap, but wow, that was that's just an Adam skip moment right there. So we're gonna see a pseudo attempt by Hobbit, first try,
Perfect,
as well as by Ed. Ooh.
Not perfect. Decent.
Ed may need to slide under.
Worse.
This button has a personality, I swear.
That button was like, no, Ed,
it's sentient.
Come on.
It just decides that you don't get to shoot it sometimes.
So this is actually really good for Hobbit, from being like almost this far behind at one point to slowly crawling the way back and then getting like a pretty decent lead now because of Adam skip. And,
it's the gap. The gap is about the same, but it's reversed now. It's about the same time difference as it was before Adam skip, just with Hobbit in the lead instead of Ed.
Hobbit getting the tower skip, pretty nice. Always love to see that. Just raw movement.
Ed
Hobbit
missed.
Oh no, Ed! Oh,
this
that is
extremely unfortunate. And what I was just about to say, actually, so because I didn't say it yet, it's not commentator's curse, I swear, I was just gonna say this won't be the last time we see a lead swap in this race. I can guarantee it.
I'm sorry to say, but it's actually entirely possible that you've just committed a thought crime. You commentator cursed him with your mind. I'm just that powerful. I need to be stopped, honestly. It's too much power. So I will now attempt to commentator curse them by saying that this next little section of the game is pretty much raw movement. It's just going to be going to Dairon and then like going through Dairon to get wide beam, and then on the way back there's a little deboost strat you can do. But otherwise it's mostly just raw movement. The thing is, Ed generally does have the slightly stronger movement, and he has been a very, very long advocate of that specific deboost. So it's very likely that Ed will make up a decent amount of time in Dairon. This is true. Yeah, Dairon is, like, Dairon 1 is one of those sections of the game that I think no one really likes doing. Like, no one can be like, oh, I can't wait to do Dairon 1. Like, oh, the movement's so fun, because it's just annoying, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure that that's a fairly common opinion. However, it is also a section that can be optimized like way more than you would ever think, just like watching the game. Like that little slope jump that Hobbit did there. You can do it so that you go perfectly up and very high onto the slope, so that you basically don't have to spend any time crawling at all. Yeah, like basically every square inch of every room in Dairon 1 has some form of optimization that you can do. Like, I kind of think of Dairon as sort of like more of an extension of Artaria 1 than Cataris is, because Cataris there's like so many tricks back to back, but Dairon is just all movement. I do like that description. I can definitely agree with that. But yeah, the other thing about Hobbit is he was practicing the bosses a lot previous to the practice run they did previous to this race, and in that previous race he PB'd. So I feel like as far as like momentum and just like energy, Hobbit's got to be like feeling pretty good, especially after attaining this much of a lead over Ed.
I'd have to like guess that's probably the case. You can almost feel like a vibe from a runner watching their movement.
Oh, for
and,
sure.
Oh, and Hobbit stole Ed's signature D-boost.
There we go. Hobbit's
we were just talking about how Ed is such a huge proponent of that, and Hobbit gets it first try. So really just showing off at this point.
The pressure's on for Ed to get it first try now.
Yeah, it really is.
I feel like if you want to have like
pressure.
any mentality, like if you want to have like any like mentality recovery, it's gotta be get this D-boost.
Yeah.
I also am noticing through this room that Ed's movement is like a lot more confident.
Yes,
very good.
I'm also noticing. So first try from both runners, that's really impressive, honestly. That's like, it looks like it's free, but there's a specific part of the platform that you have to jump on, and I'm convinced, like by recording my failures and successes, I'm convinced it's frame perfect.
I don't know about all that, but maybe.
It's an extremely narrow window that you have to jump in to actually get the full boost onto the platform.
Yeah.
And to see both runners getting the first try is just really satisfying.
It does make your heart kind of flutter.
Yeah, they're about one load transition apart, it looks like.
But yeah, so Ed's movement, I said, was looking very confident right now, which is good because it means that his mentality isn't shot. But Hobbit's, on the other hand, I would describe a little bit relaxed, which is like also good. But I noticed that like there are some like little minor optimizations you can do that he's not necessarily doing right now because these like thing that's like 1 frame slower is slightly easier.
Yeah, like it's confident. He's not necessarily trying to like save frames here and there to make up time, but he's just comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable in this lead.
Yeah.
Probably about like 30-40 seconds now.
Yeah, and I had started to mention how you can gauge a runner's vibe, and it's those little things that really are telling. Like seeing if a runner is going for a riskier strat, or even like room to room when you're just kind of walking, like shooting a missile or a beam here and there when you don't need to. Like it's almost like a little celebration, you'll notice.
Yeah, and Ed does a lot of those celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
Like
tornadoes
he'll open doors
when you're
with
waiting
grapple
for something.
beam.
Yeah.
Opening doors with grapple beam is like when I know the guy's having fun.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of just sitting there doing tornadoes for a second if you have to wait for something, or if you like, if you mess up an enemy cycle and you have to wait for it to reset, just sitting there doing tornadoes, I think it's really funny, and I've seen Ed do that a lot of times.
So yeah, both runners got Morph Ball, so they're on their way to Varia. This is another like clean little bit of like it's pretty much just movement for a few minutes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that in all bosses, honestly.
And yeah, and that's kind of what makes this such an awesome category, like AB NMG specifically, is because you have to go around to every boss in the game. You can't skip as much as any percent NMG, so there's a lot more movement, but you still get to use a lot of those NMG tricks at the same time.
I think that's kind of interesting, because you would normally, like, if you were just, like, you didn't know anything about the game, and you just, like, heard the categories, you'd probably think that all bosses is, like, the one where it's like, oh, like, your combat matters, but, like, probably movement matters a little less, but actually, like, it actually increases the importance of movement.
Yeah, I mean, this game has relatively short boss fights.
Yeah.
I was just playing Hollow Knight the last couple of days, and it made me appreciate how short you can make a boss fight in Dread.
Yeah, like the shortest, like, playing casually boss fight in Hollow Knight is, like, probably still over a minute, whereas in Metroid Dread, like, if you just, like, have even the barest notion of going fast, you can beat, like, the first Central unit in under 10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, even Corpius, which is, like, known for being slow, if you're good at aiming, is just, it's like, what, 2 minutes, not even. It's like a minute.
Yeah, it's really short.
If you get headlock, it's like 30 to 45 seconds.
Oh wait, I'm thinking about it because you can get like 207 off of like a 130 time on the first pseudo or the cloak pseudo. So yeah, it's definitely only like not very much time at all.
With good RNG, maybe headlock. Yeah, definitely.
We're getting another little instance of the buffer order bothering Hobbit there.
Yeah, that's a classic one right there.
One of the ones of those of all time.
Yep.
I do love the wall jump into the like quick rise onto the opposite platform though. That's always cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I'm a subscriber to that methodology right there. As soon as I learned about it, I'm like, yep, I'm stealing that.
Very sick little bit of movement. Yeah, so we pretty much just got like one Varia skip separating the two runners right now. So it's still definitely anybody's game, especially because we've got Hobbit's Discord namesake.
The big green time waster.
Yeah. RNG, so called because he's got RNG attacks, many of which can lose you time, and you could run out of missiles. And if you run out of missiles and he doesn't give you favorable attacks, then it just like can go on and on and on. Or if you finish the fight with 0 missiles and then the enemy after, so you need to open up a missile door, also doesn't give you any good luck.
That's honestly the biggest troll that they could have done, is like give you a really missile-heavy boss fight followed by a door that requires one single missile to open.
Yeah.
And then not prioritizing missile drops when you're low on missiles. It's someone made a deliberate choice at Mercury Steam, and they're laughing at all of us right now.
And you know what? I'm laughing along. It's a good joke.
It is. It's one of those like harmless, mostly harmless trolls.
Like it only happens like a quarter of the way into the game, if that.
Yeah. I wonder, I assume that we're going to see single wall jump attempts from both runners here. I know both Hobbit and Ed were complaining about them earlier, so I'm assuming we're going to be seeing some attempts, hopefully some good attempts. I'm hoping that we can commentators curse them, commentators bless them, maybe.
Here, I'll try and do a little blessing. There's no way Hobbit gets single wall jumps because he's using an 8-bit do, which is a controller that always messes up, and they have analog triggers, and so it's just like so hard, and therefore there's no way Hobbit gets it. See, now
where are they thinking putting analog triggers on a Switch controller? It doesn't even have an Xbox mode. It has a Switch mode and a PC mode, and they thought, you know, let's put analog triggers on it.
Okay, I tried my best. Okay.
It's alright. Third attempt, you know, it's not the worst. I think it's still faster than shooting the belly button, honestly. Like, obviously it's not optimal, but that belly button takes too long.
I was looking at Ed and I thought Hobbit got punched there for a second.
I think you commentators blessed the wrong runner.
Well, I want a close run, okay?
That's true, yeah. That's probably, I mean, it's a gap narrower, and compared to, you know, just tournaments as a whole, this is a pretty close race as it is.
I want to call out how Ed handled the nail attacks in Phase 2 as being really, really good, because obviously weaving is banned and it's not really helpful anyway. So he's just spamming missiles into Kraid's mouth, and every time a nail like pops up, he takes like maybe 3 shots to beam it, and then he's back to missiles like right away. It was very, very smooth transition.
I've been practicing that a lot, because like you want to save your missiles for damage, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is difficult, like, changing your aim just long enough to break a nail. Especially with, like, I don't know what controller Ed is using right now, but I know that
he's using a Nixie.
Oh, he is using the Nixie, okay. I know that he was using the Gaichi for a long time, which has notoriously awful sticks.
Yeah, definitely.
I've used the Nixie, and I have to say that its sticks are at least as good as the 8-bit Dove Ultimate. That's kind of the gold standard, really.
Yeah, so for those that don't know what we're talking about, the vast majority of controllers that have the turbo function, which is what people use in the speedrun if they don't want to mash, a lot of those controllers will have notches that have like a very large dead zone on each axis individually, which we call digital notches, and that makes it very hard to hit specific angles because it kind of does like a swash and stretch on the angles that it can hit and can recognize. And so it's just like extremely hard to like do things that require precise angling quickly with those controllers. However, we have recently discovered some turbo controllers that are a little bit better on that front, and so we're entering kind of a new era of good aiming from turbo players.
So the gap is small enough now that we're actually both on the same elevator scene right now. So there's not even a load transition between the two runners.
Yeah. If you think about it, what I really did was like commentator cursed Hobbit on purpose for real.
On
not
purpose,
clickbait,
yeah. It's commentator
when
throwing.
I said, yeah. I'm in his brain, pulling all the wrong neurons.
About a 9-second difference, or 9 or 19. I just completely lost the number that I was watching.
Okay, so text box
Either
closed
way,
at
I think it's
29:47 for
9.
Hobbit. Yeah, it's 9 seconds.
Yeah, it's 9 seconds. Really, really close race. Like I said earlier, like we've had a huge variety of races in this tournament, which is really great to see. There's just a lot of different, like a wide variety of runner levels in the tournament, which I think is awesome. And so we've seen a lot of races where it was a big gap, and we've seen a lot of races where it was neck and neck the whole race through. And so far, this is one of those races that it's been neck and neck the whole way.
So, not to cast any more magic, hopefully. I know that Hobbit has had a couple incidents of falling into the tomato soup in this next section on the return trip. That's not going to kill him, luckily, because this first one is like literally free. You would almost never miss this.
I missed it
But
yesterday, but go on.
I mean, it's really hard, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so actually Ed got souped. Darn it, I did cast magic.
You did.
Well,
Thankfully,
the good news
is... it's really not, like, I mean, you look at the gap and it's still, like, it's really narrow, so it's not the worst if you get... Oh no, Hobbit got caught.
You know what's really funny is when Ed got caught earlier, I said, "Oh, you can die to Yellow Emmy
in a half an hour." Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we just saw from Hobbit right now. Hobbit got the bad spawn twice in a row, which is just so unlucky.
But we're gonna see Dark Room
Thankfully,
Pseudo
Hobbit
from Ed.
is a boss and countered the Emmy on the second try. So, definitely not the worst. I mean, 2 deaths would have been really, really unfortunate, but given that Hobbit was ahead, it didn't. It swapped the lead again, but it didn't narrow or it didn't widen the gap that much. First try Darkroom Pseudo from both runners. Love to see it. I'm a huge fan of Darkroom Pseudo. Any runner who does the Berenia pseudos needs to do the Darkroom Pseudo, definitely. They're exactly the same.
Yeah, and to be clear, when we say exactly the same, sometimes we mean like, oh, it's like the same idea. No, if you programmed a task to do right side Berenia pseudo and then you played that task in the Darkroom, it would work.
It would literally work. It's exactly the same. It's incredible. I wasn't calling anyone out. What? I don't know what you're talking about, manager.
Yeah, so we got a chunky little lead here from Ed now. About as much as it was the other way earlier. And this next section is backdoor flash shift coming up at Berenia. So that is a trick that you can gain and lose time on for sure.
If you get it first try with, I think it's, 7 bomb jumps? I think is the minimum. It saves about 6 seconds with early grapple. So yeah, I know that both runners did they did backdoor flash in their practice run earlier. Hobbit struggled a little bit. I actually didn't watch Ed's attempts. I think Ed got it pretty quickly. But we will see if they choose to do so in the race here. I imagine we'll see an attempt from both.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that either of them would skip it.
So, Delusional, I actually don't know the exact number of how much time it saves. According to SAT, if you can do like 100% optimal movement, it's about the same, I think. It might lose like a frames, you know, like a matter of frames, but like the optimal movement in the room is like really hard to get perfect, so it's usually going to save at least a couple seconds, I think.
Now, when you say optimal movement, you're talking about like the grapple cancel onto the ledge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like personally, I think that given that Darkroom Pseudo is essentially free, like if you're doing Berenia Pseudos, which you should be because they save a lot of time, you already know how to do it. So if you're good at the Berenia ones, you can consider it free to do the Darkroom Pseudo, and if you get it first try, you're not really losing time. So why not?
So I like to point out that Ed is doing the thing I was talking about earlier, where he opens doors with the grapple beam, so I feel like we're about to see a first try backdoor flash shift. Yep, and he's going to do the fast version where you don't
Charlotte,
reactivate.
you finally commentator's blessed.
I did it. I knew it. Look, I can just read the situation.
That was a gorgeous attempt, too. I think that was perfect, wasn't it? That was like the minimum number of
because he did the faster version where you lay the first one in the air.
Yeah.
So that was like
the setup,
really,
like,
really beautiful.
Hobbit is actually opting not to, which is probably
what's going
smart.
on here?
So Hobbit, like I said, struggled a little bit. And so Hobbit can either lose a fixed 6 seconds, or he could potentially lose a considerable amount more. And given that Hobbit is behind already, I think that this is a smart decision to make. Because 6 seconds is a lot easier to make up than potentially like 20 or 30.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I just feel like when it's something that chunky, you should be willing to take the risk. But we will see how it plays out for Hobbit.
Yeah.
Right now, Ed is looking hot on
I think
the
it's
controller.
Like you were saying earlier, how like there's a difference between confident and comfortable. And right now we see Ed in the lead being confident and showing that off with first try BDF. Whereas Hobbit definitely trying to make up time, but it doesn't really look like he's like flustered. He's just comfortable and doing what is consistent and like, you know, taking the maybe a slightly slower strat that, you know, won't lose you time on accident.
You know, that's a good way to think about it. It's not that he's like demoralized, it's just that he's like, you know what, I know that I will be able to make up this time.
Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. And missing a couple grapple cancels, but that's alright. It's it's honestly better to miss them than to like do it wrong and slightly too fast, because then you get caught by yellow Emmy.
This is true. He's still got the muscle memory going from opening doors with grapple, apparently.
Hell yeah. Ooh, beautiful Charlie's
really,
in the first
yeah,
phase.
really nice Charlie's weaving around the Rinkas, like almost completely hitless. I think he just got hit once by that one Rinka.
Yeah, but for phase 1, that was just that was TAS. That was
yeah.
crazy. I mean, I guess TAS would just do 30 hertz weaving. Never mind, but you get it.
Yeah, I get it. Board legal TAS, maybe. Like,
board legal TAS.
Human board legal.
Yeah,
nice
so
little magic
good
up into the hole from Hobbit. Alright, let's see these Charlies from Hobbit.
I missed one.
Missed one, two. Missed two.
2.5.
2.5.
3. Okay.
Still pretty good attempts, honestly. I mean, Charlies are possibly one of the most annoying. I think Charlies are the most annoying input sequence short of single wall jumps. Like, single wall jumps are the worst, followed then by Charlies.
You know, with all the glitches that are so hard in this game, it's kind of funny that, like, those two tricks are what you're saying is the most annoying. When they're even allowed in glitch lists, they're, like, so...
Well, I'm in an NMG match. Like, obviously, shine sinking and wall clipping are considerably more
Oh, yeah.
awkward. But
Yeah. For the NMG, for sure.
I've wall clipped once, ever. It was great. Sit there spinning your controller back and forth.
Yeah, I'm so a fan of the way that Ednolium is currently pressing the right stick button, or right stick in, or using an alternative wrapping that accomplishes the same button read, and getting a speed booster shortly after in like the intended normal amount of time that you'd expect speed booster to initiate. That's really
Instead
cool.
of taking like a long time to charge up for some reason, definitely not because you reset out of C57 during boss rush practice.
Oh, that's such a nightmare. That like hypothetical you just put out there. That imagine if that was a thing in this game.
That would be crazy, honestly. Imagine if there was a glitch that required you to go to the home menu of the Switch with like frame perfect timing. That would be
Oh,
wild.
that would be pretty funny, actually.
I see that
Yeah.
Hobbit got the little flash chain there. I don't think Ed got the third flash.
Oh, but I got this speed keep.
Ooh, but Hobbit missed the final flash chain, which is understandable. That one's a lot harder in my opinion.
Oh, Ed's having a little bit of trouble with the QR robo. Okay, got the first hit. I don't think this one's gonna work out now.
No.
Yeah, he's gonna have to do
This
the slow
is
strat
just-
now. He can't do another one.
I take back what I said about Corpius being the most annoying boss fight.
Oh,
'Cause,
he
like, this
actually
fight-
can't afford another hit. He
Oh,
died!
no! That is...
So this is what dancing
So-
on the razor's edge can sometimes
Look-
get you. Ednolium
Okay,
is definitely a somebody who like preaches about this fight and the fast way to do it a lot, but it does have its dangers.
Yeah, and like this boss fight is so up to RNG. It's like it's kind of methodical, but if you just get trolled with bad robot RNG, the methodical approach doesn't work, and it just feels awful.
Yeah, it's
So-
kind of up there with like Ravenbeak and Kraid as like the RNG bosses that are annoying.
Yeah, so that definitely narrowed the gap considerably. So
For
we got an
sure.
A press at what was that, 4057, I think.
Something like that. And here we're gonna see the cool speed keep. Love it.
Yep, a little
Morph into the tunnel to break
entrance.
the blocks, and then you're already fast falling. Frame one.
So about an 18-second lead by Ed, which is much
There are
much narrower
so
than it
many
was
things.
before that death.
Yeah, and there are so many things that can happen that'll make somebody gain or lose that much time. So definitely
There's,
still anybody's race.
Yeah, so we're on our way to Dragaiga right now, and of course there's the speed keeps up there. Ed missed the little stall, the speed booster stall there.
Yeah, if
there's-
anybody
there's-
watched AGDQ 2023, you'll know how much he loves that full speed keep.
Mm-hmm. On the way to Dragaiga, there's 3 individual speed keeps you can technically chain together. The first 2 can be directly linked with just speed booster, and then you store a spark and do the last part. And then there's of course one cycle Drog, which despite how consistent the method is, there's still a pretty decent chance that you can just like miss a single missile shot and mess it up.
Yeah, and I know Drog was one of the bosses that Hobbit was practicing against earlier, so hopefully that translates into a first cycle going on.
Mhm.
Ed, I also know, practices one cycle a lot, so hopefully that goes well.
Best of luck to both of these runners on their speed keeps and Dragaigas. Water lettuces, as we call it.
As we call it. Alright, so we're going to see the
Ed's doing
first
the
part,
fan
jump
link.
over the Eevee.
Uh-oh. So Ed missed the fan link there. Not the biggest, not a huge deal, really.
No, not at all. Not
Missed
even going to
the
go for
perfect
this link.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, store here, we're going to do some Morbin.
It's Morbin time. And then it
Boom.
morbed all over.
Sure did do
Hobbit
that.
right behind. Hobbit also not attempting the second link. Ed got the store cancel, which is swag. Big swag right there.
Ooh, that was close.
It was. He got caught on the ledge, but it pushed him up.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll, like, mess up, and you'll just, like, flash into the corner of the ledge 2 times in a row for some reason.
Hobbit also got the store cancel. A lot more comfortable getting over the ledge.
Hell yeah. And then it looks like Ed is probably going to get this this 1 cycle. That was quite a few extra missiles.
That was, yep,
yeah.
yep. Okay. So now we have the Steve Tower climb. So we'll see how each of these runners attacks that.
Quick 12 o'clock too? Nope.
Ed missed his first grapple cancel. Now the Steves are awake, shooting their little spiny thorn things.
Yeah.
I think Ed's gonna have to stop and kill them, yeah. Once you get both of them on screen, it's just such a pain to get up that tower without getting deboosted back down.
You're playing a shmup once they're both activated.
Yeah. Ooh, Hobbit also
Ooh.
getting trolled by the top one, but thankfully it doesn't look like he lost as much time as Ed did. So,
yeah, Ed fell down twice. Hobbit only
elevator
fell
door
down
closed
halfway.
at 47. So 13 seconds between them, so it's definitely a narrower gap. And it is
Saved
closing
about 5 seconds
steadily.
there.
So let's see, I didn't look at the each runner's health and missile count after Drog. It looks like Ed's full.
Yeah, when you're doing 2 tank, you pretty much have to go for the like slightly slower 1 cycle where you get the counter.
Yeah. Ed's doing. Oh my goodness!
Oh, that's actually tragic. I
that
don't
is
even know if it's
actually
worth.
tragic.
not
Ed tried to
resetting.
do the frame 1 spark where you have to jump into the rope, or you jump just as soon as you enter the room, and you land on the platform and store your shine spark, or you store and then immediately start your shine spark right where the robot will land, and when he lands, it just instantly damages it.
So yeah, just here we
Ed's
go. That's
also
all it takes.
extremely close to death right now. So
Ed
Hobbit
will
is
never take this
now
counter
in the
though.
lead. Oh!
That is really
just,
unfortunate.
I don't even have words for that.
If I was like, that's like if somebody was doing Atom Skip for like a few minutes and then quit instead of just taking the free 3 minutes on an eventual success. That was really, really bad.
I can't even imagine that circumstance. That's just like, I don't even want to consider the hypothetical.
Gosh. But yeah, so at least you got the Shine Spark this time. So yeah, the thing about the that fight is you'll notice like after he got the Shine Spark, it was still like a fair chunk of time shooting missiles at the robot. That whole amount of time gets doubled basically by not getting the Shine Spark because the Shine Spark does half of its health.
Yeah. It's a weird rule that Dread has, like, on almost every single thing that can be damaged by a Shine Spark, it deals 50% of its health, no matter what the health is.
Yeah, for some reason the Gold Chozo specifically is like slightly more than 2 Shine Sparks, but it is still like pretty much half.
Mm-hmm. For all we know, it could be a rounding error.
Yeah, we know that this game has a few of those.
Hey
yeah,
kids,
so we
if you
saw
want
the
to try this at
hackathons.
home, leave your game open for 3.5 days.
And then if you want to have no fun at all, do it for another 2.
Yep. Yeah, that was a nice hackathon boost from Hobbit. Also got one from Ed. Feels good. So Hobbit is making his way into Elon. And in a moment here, we are going to see that by doing so, the X-Parasites have been released. Turns out that after Fusion, they were not all gone, and in fact they are now all over the place.
And they will continue to be all over the place because every
Inside,
single enemy except for the
outside,
robots.
and all over ZDR.
Yeah, every biological enemy in the game gets replaced by an X variant from this point forward.
And if we were on Legacy Patch, they would be replaced by Crash Your Game variants.
Yeah. Luckily, both of these players running on 2.1.0, the most current patch, the real version of the game, some might even argue.
I can't believe we got Metroid Dread 2 not even a year after it was released. It's crazy.
Really crazy.
Really nice Elon Speed Keep by Hobbit. I don't know that he's going to get... Nope, sorry. I don't think that was commentator's curse, but I apologize if that was. But
yeah, no, he had already messed up. Like, it was impossible for him to finish it, even if he didn't do that accidental spark.
The biggest like portion of the time save is the part that Hobbit did manage to get, so not really a big deal.
Yeah, the extra little cherry on top would have been being able to shine spark rather than counter in the boss door.
Yeah, which is nice. However, you get less drops from it because you're not doing a melee counter. Ed also got the shine spark store and also got to counter to shine spark at the door. But you'll notice that Ed's energy's not full.
I do like that Ed did a jump to bonk his head and then store rather than just storing on the ground. I don't know why, that's just really funny to me.
So Hobbit got the biggest time save of the century, which is just saving a few frames by sparking through the save station. We'll see if Ed manages to also accomplish such.
I don't see him missing it, though, you know, maybe that's more juju in the universe. The time to beat, when I cursed them earlier on purpose, not as a joke, was 1:32:07:16, which is pretty much impossible for either of these runners to hit, even if they died to every boss once.
Yeah, I think with both of these runners having PBs in the low 120s, like very low 120s, it would be an absolutely tragic display of unfortunate circumstances. A series of unfortunate events, if you will, that would result in a 130 from either of these runners. As I watch Hobbit get trolled multiple times in a row by Ice Enemy.
At least he didn't get caught.
This is true. We can be thankful for that.
No, it looks like Hobbit was going for the ledge boost on the morph there, but accidentally morphed a little too early and just kind of navigated through the water sluggishly.
And Hobbit almost got trolled by the flower, but just squeezed through before it collapsed.
Oh!
It's just keeping us on the edge. Ed also got trolled by the blue Emmy.
They both got the dog water spawn.
Yeah. It's just... It's one of those things that makes you ask why. Why did they put a spawn point there?
They just wanted to keep the game spicy for the speedrunners.
Yeah.
They knew what we were gonna do.
The prophecies of Mercury Steam. Oh no! Ed missed the instant spark up, which is kind of a little bit of a swag strat. It saves maybe a quarter of a second to do over just stopping and doing your regular melee instant spark. Thankfully he got the recovery, but that did lose a couple extra seconds.
Yeah, luckily the spark after you miss the spark is still a time save, because taking the